FightNewz.
About as calm as you can be, and I'm telling you, almost distracted. Very interesting.
Campbell trying to throw that right hand crowd a lot.
Just very relaxed.
And down he goes from a left hand.
And maybe not focused. That was my...
Is a bone.
And he's slugging.
Campbell has 6 first-round knockouts.
And jabbing his way in. Let me tell you, this fight will be won by who lands the best left hook. They're both landing them. Slug with Campanella and got a shot, didn't he?
Well, there's a right hand that lands.
This is what I mean when I say Ryan reminds me of Oscar. Of course, you know, Ryan doesn't have the same technical skill, but he has the same character, and that same character can take him a long way. You know, and we've seen guys with will beat skill all the time. Now, I'm on the whole bandwagon of him improving, you know, and tightening up everything he needs to tighten up. He's got a lot of flaws, and he needs to tighten them up. But is Ryan in the right place to make these, you know, these adjustments and these changes? You know, we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. But, you know, back in the fight, Ryan answered a lot of questions. You know, he was knocked down. He got back up. You know, that's always a good thing. That's always something we want to see. And I see a lot of people talking bad. Well, he got knocked down by a guy that was weak. Everyone can be knocked down by a so-called weak puncher or a guy that doesn't punch. Okay? We've seen that 1,000 times, but it's how the guy gets up, how he responds. Ryan answered a lot of questions, and he answered them correctly. You know what I mean? With the little skill that well, I'm not going to say little skill, but let's say he has less skill than he could have. He answered the questions correctly with the little skills that he has. You know, and because Luke's a gold medalist. That's what we got to think about. Luke's a gold medalist. Luke is more technically skilled, and he's more experienced. And he seemed to be overmatched with Ryan, but Ryan's will beat that skill. You know, Ryan started off jabbing well to the body, but he quickly fell in love with connecting. You know, that's something we see with young fighters all the time. You fall in love with touching the person, then you get over anxious. And then he started to neglect the little defense that he had. You know, but Ryan is very good under fire. You know what I mean? He's very, very good under fire, like right in the line of fire. He reminds me, in that sense, he reminds me of Danny Garcia. You know what I mean? That ability is going to be a gift and a curse for him in the future. And as we saw, it was a little bit of both in this fight, where he's leaning back. You know, he's doing the whole Deontay Wilder thing, leaning back and just putting his hands up, not really defending himself the right way. But this time, he drops his hand, catches one, boom. Results in him being catching the perfect punch by Luke, touching the canvas for the first time. So, but the thing is about this is, I believe Ryan saw this punch. I don't believe this was a punch. There are a lot of people saying he didn't see it. I believe Ryan saw this punch, and that's the reason that he was able to take it and not be knocked out this way. He was able to get up, and he got up. He looked good. He responded, and I see a lot of people saying that Luke should have jumped on him when he had him down. Yeah, and he could have also ended up like AJ. When you're trying to run and jump on a guy who's got way faster hands than you, that's always going to be a recipe for danger. Right when he's getting off the canvas and in fight or flight mode. When you hear some of these things, you really get to know like who's talking. Let's just always think about that. When you're listening to some of these people, just listen to what they're saying sometimes. But Ryan immediately showed that he wasn't even that hurt when he throws out a left hook very fast. You know what I mean? And the fourth and the fifth, I think he hurt Luke in probably around the fourth or the fifth round. And then again, we saw a guy turn his back. You know, like a big note. We're seeing that. We see that with the Pulev fight. a few weeks ago. But we saw it again. We saw Luke turn his back after he got hurt, but it was at the end of the round, so I guess that's what he was trying to. We'll let that go. But in the sixth, Ryan comes out fast, but he does not leading with the jab at all. He's literally chasing Luke around, throwing hooks, and defense is just out the window. The next round is where we get the body shot finish, the perfect shot. And the reason we saw that was actually because Ryan was reacting to being hit with a body shot from Luke. So, he reacts good. This is this wasn't the perfect win, but this was a good win. It had all the things that you want to see from a young fighter that we haven't really seen with these other guys yet. We haven't even seen them go through adversity. We haven't really seen these guys against top guys besides Teofimo. The other guys, there's a number, there's questions about the other guys at 135. Back to what Ryan needs. I know this is gonna sound bad, and I know people are not gonna, they're not, because everyone sees Canelo as the top pound for pound fighter. But just because Canelo's the top pound for pound fighter doesn't mean the Reynosos are actually the best for every fighter that's going to come through. I don't really think that style, and the body type of Ryan is good and conducive with the Reynoso style. That's just me. I think that someone like Ryan, who needs to learn his balance, who needs to learn how to punch correctly, who needs to learn upper body movement, nice hand placement, I think the perfect guy for that job is Sugar Hill. And if you look at Ryan's body type and you think about the Crunk fighters, he is almost like he's got the power, he's got the speed, he's got the natural talent. He just needs the right coach, and I think that Sugar Hill would be perfect for that. I think that you could see the real creating of a real superstar if we saw him get that type of training, And it's not saying that he needs to stay with Sugar Hill. If he wants to, he's comfortable with the Reynosos. Maybe he just does a few training camps. Maybe he just goes up there a few times to learn a few things. Just to learn. As far as who he faces next, I think the best fight in the next fight will be Jorge Linares. I know he's calling out a lot of people. I know it's for the interim championship. That's not going to happen. I see he's going to fight Linares. Linares is already with Golden Boy. You already hear Oscar saying things like world champions need Ryan, and I think that is rightly so. But at the same time, he's trying to say that Ryan will not be rushed. That's another way he's trying to say is Ryan's not going to be rushed. We know what we got here, and we're going to let him take his time. But at the same time, he's taking his time. He's taking on good fights. We got a guy like Devin. Devin's taking his time. He's a world champion that's taking his time. But he can't, we don't know whether it's a little bit of, we don't know whether he can't get the fights or whether, this is perfect matchmaking for him on his behalf. That's another video for another time. But I see Lopez as the hardest test for Ryan. Just if I'm lining up skill and size, I'm lining them all together. I say Teofimo is probably the hardest fight. Then comes Devin, then Tank. I know people that's gonna be like, well, Tank, he hits the hardest. Yes, but he's also the smallest. He's also the unproven at 135. But he's smaller. See, although Devin is also unproven in people's eyes at 135, we saw him fight Santiago. We saw him fight a guy that was around his size. We haven't seen what's called Tank fight a big lightweight. We haven't seen that. And he went 12 with Gamboa that had 1 foot. So, the question's out on his power. Just because he's got power, great power at 130 doesn't mean he's going to have it at 135. I think people don't understand that when they watch a lot of boxing. Well, he can punch here, he can punch anywhere. No, not everyone's going to be Manny Pacquiao. But that is the way I saw the fight going on this weekend. A big congratulations to Ryan. Thought he did good. I definitely think he's a star on the rise. and I'm gonna keep my eye out for him. He reminds, like I keep trying to say, he reminds me a lot of Oscar. I know I get flack for that. I even feel bad saying it sometimes, but it is just the truth. I hope he gets the molding so he can be a proper Oscar. But like the video, share, subscribe, and check me out next time.